What's shaking, Chewy Nation? ChewbaccaLemma here, back with another not Madden 19 video. Just a video today. You can already tell we have a playoff video. This is always fun. I love talking NFL. So if you like talking NFL as well, leave a comment down below. I'd love to have a nice conversation on why you think my picks are terrible or why you agree with them and such. So definitely leave those comments there. And also a like would be appreciated. It's always fun. It's always fun to see those likes. It makes me feel good. But let's go ahead and dive into it. You see I'm rocking the Texans gear, so you already know they're winning the Super Bowl. Let's go ahead and look at the bracket. It's right here. You see it. The very first game is the Colts at the Texans. Texans open up at 2.5-point favorites, which I actually was very surprised. I thought this would be closer to a pick'em. 2.5 isn't a big number, but I do believe that the Sharks will come in and bet this down if you're interested in that sort of the betting side of it. I'm fascinated with it as a math guy, but I do believe the Sharks will bet that down, and it will be closer to a pick'em at kickoff. I don't see Colts ever being a favorite in this game. I don't think it will go that far, but I wouldn't be surprised if this comes down to about a point. Or closer to a pick'em. But 2.5, the Texans are the favorites. But if you remember a few weeks ago, Indianapolis went into Houston when Houston was on a roll and they beat them. It was a very good game. One of the better games I've watched from the Texans all year, just from a entertainment standpoint. But the Colts did win, and there was no pressure at all from the Texans, and that's what they're known for, is that great front seven, and their secondary got torched by Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck, comeback player of the year, and also JJ Watt's there too, but it's probably Andrew Luck as the comeback player of the year. He's been fantastic, and I know this may surprise you. I actually am going to take the Colts here, even though Vegas starts out liking the Texans as a small favorite, and I think a majority of people would pick the Texans because I think this could be like a 55-45 sort of game, but I do think that offensive firepower, T.Y. Hilton, with Andrew Luck, the offense is just, they just don't have an answer for it, and I'm worried that the Texans just can't keep up with that offense. So I will take the Colts in this game. I think it'll be very competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if it's high scoring. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 30-24, 30-27, that sort of high scoring game, but I do believe the Colts do reign victorious and move on to the second round to face the Kansas City Chiefs because they are the 6th seed. Then we have probably the most interesting matchup, I think, of all. I know I'm a Texans fan, but I don't think that matchup is near as interesting as this one here. The Chargers versus the Ravens. 2 picks. I see a lot of Baltimore Ravens sneaky, gonna, maybe make a Super Bowl run. And same for the Chargers, though maybe not as sneaky because I think they had 12 wins this year, but the Ravens did open up as a 2.5-point favorite as well, and I think that's probably about right. I don't think that number moves too much. I think even though the Ravens did beat them pretty well a couple weeks ago, I think it was week 16, 22-10, so it'd be interesting to see where that line ends up. I think it's probably about where I would expect it to end with what Baltimore did in Los Angeles as well, so This is the most interesting matchup of the weekend, and I think Baltimore will win here. I think whoever wins this game is going to feel really good about their chances going into Foxborough if the Colts do indeed beat the Texans, and I think they'll both feel good about going into Arrowhead as well. Either way, I think they're going to feel good. Depending on what happens with the Texans-Colts matchup, that will depend on where they end up, the winner of this game. But if they go into Foxborough or Arrowhead, I think either one of these teams will have a good chance of winning, and we'll talk about that when we get to the second round. I will take the Ravens in a very close game, very competitive game. Wouldn't be surprised if this goes a different way, but I will take the Ravens to narrowly escape against the Los Angeles Chargers. Next up, we have Seattle at Dallas, and I have to say, Pete Carroll has really impressed this year. Maybe the coach of the year. He's been that good. He probably won't win it just because of his record. Usually it's, one of the better. He's not quite have the record as some of those top guys, but I think this is one of his best coaching seasons he's ever had. And then you go to Dallas, and Dallas, man, that defense has been playing so well. The Houston Texans did beat them, by the way, but that was many, many games ago. And the Dallas Cowboys have been playing so well. They obviously went and beat the Saints. It was in Dallas, but they've been playing really, really good football. They have had some hiccups here and there. They had to escape. They played the starters against the Giants this past week. I'm not sure how good you feel about that, but you're facing Seattle here, and I think this game will be very competitive. I don't see it going, blowout either way. I don't think it will be high scoring. The over-under is only 42, pretty low number. So I do think it will be indeed a low-scoring game. And I actually think Seattle will go into Dallas and beat them. There's not a great home field advantage in Dallas. I think most people would say, even Dallas fans in Jerry World would say it's not a great. It's more of a spectacle. I wouldn't say it's it's not like Arrowhead or anything like that. So I would say that this is going to be a tough matchup for Dallas, and I actually think Seattle, Russell Wilson, I think is really underrated. I know everybody says he's underrated, so I don't know how he can be underrated. I think he's fantastic. Russell Wilson does end up beating the Dallas Cowboys. Well, the Seahawks end up beating the Cowboys, and they move on to the second round. Another tough game to pick for sure. In the last game, I probably should just lead with this one because I think this is the easiest one. Eagles are a big underdog, 5.5, open at 5.5. Probably doesn't move too much off of that number. I can't imagine it getting closer to 7. Maybe it drops down to 5. But the number 5.5 I think is about right. And I do think this is a really, really tough matchup for the Eagles. I just don't see how they can really do much unless there's some fluky plays against this Chicago Bears defense. It's just going to be a really tough matchup for them. I wouldn't be surprised. The over-under, again, is really small, just like the Seahawks and Dallas. It's only 42. Wouldn't be shocked if it's one of those 17-6 games or something very low scoring like that. But I do think the Bears, led by that exceptional defense with Khalil Mack, who has been one of the best defensive players, one of the best players in the NFL all year. When he's on the field, he's just wrecking havoc. So I do believe Khalil Mack and company will lead this team to a win pretty convincingly against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, because the Colts won, that means they automatically go to Arrowhead, which sets up the other AFC matchup as well. So we have the Colts at the Chiefs. And another, I think, could go either. I actually think the Colts will be competitive versus the Chiefs. More competitive than I think the Texans would be. The Texans-Colts game, I think, is pretty much a pick-em. I think it could go either way. I think this game is also close. I don't think the Texans would necessarily give the Chiefs a great matchup, but they wouldn't play them first round, so I guess that's good. If they end up seeing them in the AFC Championship, I think that would be a tough matchup for the Texans, but we're not talking about that because that's not what happened, okay? The Colts won, and now they're facing the Chiefs, and the question is, who's going to win this game? And I have to say, I will go the Kansas City Chiefs. I think you could make the case for the Colts. They're red hot. They're playing really good offensively. The offensive line is amazing, absolutely incredible. The defense, still some question marks. I just don't know how they're going to slow down Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, obviously Travis Kelce. I just don't see them doing much. I think this over-under will be very high in this game. It will be well in the 50s. So it would be interesting to see where that number does fall. I think the Chiefs will be a decent favorite as well, and I think they will take care of business against the Colts, and Andy Reid will go ahead and see himself in another championship game. Then we get the Ravens at the Patriots. Everybody hates the Patriots, unless you're a Patriots fan. Everybody hates the Patriots. The Texans could have taken care of business and not allowed them to be in this spot, but here they are, a first-round bye again, and only winning 11 games this year, but they are there and they have that bye. And the Ravens are coming into town, and this is definitely an interesting matchup. We'll see, how much, if this demise of Tom Brady, how much it really has happened. If it has, he looked really good this past week. I'll be interested to see this game for sure if it does happen. I think the Ravens will handle business here. I actually wouldn't be surprised if this game actually isn't that competitive. I think the Ravens offensively will be really tough to stop for the Patriots. I know that, it's Bill Belichick. We'll see if he's able to slow down Lamar Jackson, and maybe he will a little bit. I just think this is a bad matchup for the Patriots, and even though it's in Foxborough, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 27-16, 17, a 10-point win-ish for the Ravens. We'll see if they're able to put those points up. I'm sure many Patriots fans will be like, there's no way Bill Belichick can't figure this out. I don't know. I think that's going to be tough. I think it's a really tough matchup for the Patriots, and I actually pick the Ravens to make it to the AFC Championship game, which we'll see if they beat the Chargers. That's the question. If they'll beat them, I think either one of those teams would beat the Patriots. I think a lot of people would probably think that as well, go into the AFC Championship. My bet is the Ravens. You might go the Chargers, or maybe you just think the Patriots as well. You can't really go wrong. I think they're all three pretty good teams. Moving over to the NFC, we got the Seattle Seahawks winning, which means they play, well, sorry, we had the Chicago Bears winning, which means they will play the 2 seed, and the Seattle Seahawks will play the 1 seed since they're the highest seed remaining, and that means that is the New Orleans Saints. So the Saints have been the best team in football for much of the year, and now they're hosting Seattle. Seattle's definitely a scary team, but I just don't see them being able to stop the Saints in the playoffs. Sean Payton, Drew Brees, that offense is really, really good, and at home, it's really, really tough to beat the Saints in the Dome, and I just don't see Seattle being able to do that, or Dallas, whoever it is. I know Dallas won at home, but in the Dome, I just don't think they'll be able to, whoever they face, I think the Saints will be ready to go, and they will take care of business moving on to the championship game. Then the Bears. So the Bears beat Eagles. I think that game will not be too competitive. They go in and they face the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the Rams have been very confusing this year. I'm not really sure I'm really convinced on them. They really haven't necessarily given Todd Gurley the ball as much as you would think. Sean McVay, maybe some people are thinking he's outthinking himself. They're hosting a very, very tough defense. And I have to say, I think Chicago's going to beat them. I just think they've already shown that their defense is able to completely shut down this offense a few weeks back. I think this is a great matchup for Chicago, and assuming they can put up some points on offense, which is always a question mark, we'll see if Mitchell Trubisky's able to do that. From Ohio, actually. He's around the area that I'm in, but we'll see what they're able to do on offense. I just think that this is a bad matchup for the Rams, and I think Chicago will go ahead and go into Los Angeles. I think this game will be interesting where the line comes in. I think, obviously, the Rams will be favored, I would say, but I think this is going to be a really close to maybe it might even go to almost a pick 'em. 2.5 points probably opens and maybe goes down to about a point. We'll see where that comes in, but if assuming this matchup happens, but I will take the Chicago Bears to actually beat the Los Angeles Rams. So, AFC, we're on the AFC side, and we have the Kansas City Chiefs at home, Arrowhead, versus the Baltimore Ravens. What do you guys think? I think if it's the Chargers or the Ravens here, those would be that first game is so tough to pick, versus the Chiefs. This is a very, very interesting game. The Ravens obviously could have beaten the Chiefs in the last game. They probably should have beaten the Chiefs in their last game, and now they get a rematch if this does hold. And though I do think the Ravens are a tough matchup for teams like the Chiefs, their defense isn't great. I don't know how much offense they're going to be on, how much they're going to be on the field. I do think Andy Reid does just enough to pull through against the Ravens. I believe the Chiefs will win this game. I think it's obviously going to be a really tough matchup. I don't think it's a particularly great matchup for the Chiefs, but Tyreek Hill has emerged as one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the NFL. If that offense is able to put up a decent amount of points, I think the Chiefs will be able to step up at least enough to knock off the Ravens. But if this does happen, I would not be surprised if the Ravens knocked off the Chiefs, if they're able to make it through Los Angeles and able to make it through Foxborough and the Patriots. If they're able to beat those two teams, I wouldn't be surprised. At this point, you're probably feeling really good if they did go ahead and go to the Super Bowl, but I will take the Kansas City Chiefs in a very close game. On the AFC side, we have the Saints and the Chicago Bears. This will be in New Orleans, of course, as the 1 seed they get. You got to go through the Dome if you're going to go to the Super Bowl, and man, what a matchup this will be if this does happen. We have the best defense in the NFL, maybe the best defense. They're right up there. And then you have the best offense. It's so hard to say best. One of the best offenses. Drew Brees has been exceptional. So who's going to win this game? Well, Khalil Mack is an absolute stud, and I probably haven't talked about him enough. One of the best pass rushers in the game. Not the best, but he's one of the best. He wreaks havoc. And oh my, the Raiders really gave him a gift there, because that defense is, without Khalil Mack, I can't imagine they're even close to where they're at now. He's just so disruptive and definitely one of the best players in the NFL. So I have to say, I think Chicago is going to knock off the Saints in the Dome. And that seems pretty wild because the Saints are near unbeatable in the Dome. But I do think the blueprint that the Cowboys put out there, I think Chicago can replicate that maybe even more so, and I think they can stop this Saints offense. Drew Brees, I love him. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks of all time. He is fantastic, deadly accurate. I think the pass rush is going to get to him. The offense will do just enough, though the Saints defense has been playing much better, just enough to beat the Saints. I think this will be a low-scoring game. That's probably the only way Chicago wins. I think it's going to be something like 2017. If this is a win, I would say that's got to be the score, something around there. Chicago wins. And believe it or not, with that offense, they are going to the Super Bowl to face the Kansas City Chiefs. Now you have the Chiefs. Electric offense, defense a little questionable, and you have the Chicago Bears. Defense is exceptional, offense is a little shaky. Who wins, offense versus defense? This would be such an intriguing matchup for sure. I will go ahead and pick the offense. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. Andy Reid needs that Super Bowl. I love you, Andy Reid. I'm hoping he gets it. I'm not a Chiefs fan by any stretch. I want the Texans. I would love for the Texans to win the Super Bowl, of course. But sometimes you got to be realistic. I think Andy Reid is fantastic. Obviously, on the offensive side, he is able to, he's one of the best offensive minds we've ever seen. And we'll see if that's able to trump one of the best defenses, you know, in the league. If he's able to knock off the Ravens and then knock off the Bears, that offense is going to cement themselves as one of the best offenses we've ever seen. It already kind of is, but that would be an amazing couple wins in a row there, beating those two defenses. And it's going to be interesting to see, you know, how much, you know, if Khalil Mack is able to be slowed down at all. It's hard to say that's going to happen. But Tyreek Hill, do they have a matchup for him? Are they able to slow him down? Travis Kelce. I just think the offense is just so good. At the Super Bowl, I think Andy Reid is experienced. I think he's due. I think he would have the advantage coaching here, even though Nagy's done a great job in Chicago. I think just based on everything Andy Reid has went through and all the experience, I think he would be the guy to lead this team to victory. The Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champions. What do you guys think? So that's the predictions, okay? That's it. I feel like there's going to be a ton of disagreements for sure. I know there's going to be people saying the Chargers are going to win the Super Bowl. The Cowboys losing to the Seahawks, they're going to beat them. They're going to beat the Saints. They're going to go in. They could make a Super Bowl run. Perhaps it can happen. It's all going to shake itself out. A lot of those answers are going to come here on the weekend, seeing those first wildcard games. We're going to get so much information, so we'll see. But that's my bracket. Let me know who you guys think down in the comments. I love talking to you guys. It would be awesome to read those comments and interact with you guys. Thank you guys so much for the support, and that's all I got. ChewbaccaLemma out.